Occupy, you say get me some coffee! I say occupy, you say Oakland, occupy!
Oakland!
I say occupy, you say the porch, occupy!
The porch!
I say occupy, you say the whole fucking West Coast!
Fucking the whole fucking West Coast!
Hey, that doesn't rhyme!
San Fran!
I say occupy, you say Oakland, occupy!
Oakland!
I say occupy, you say Long Beach, occupy!
Long Beach!
I say occupy, you say LA, occupy!
LA!
I say occupy, you say Portland, occupy!
Portland!
I say occupy, you say Seattle, occupy!
Seattle!
What are they paying you to put all that shit on for?
Don't be allowed to step.
Batons are out. Look, use tension and baton ready to use it.
Yeah, they want to retreat. We want to let them go.
You should let them go because if they're being generous, let them be generous and offer their hand.
Where is let them go? There's no in and out, you know? It's all the port.
So I would let them go.
I talked to the guys in Senate.
I hope he's going to stay in.
You know what? There are other cops in riot gear. If they take off their riot gear and they leave, then you guys can leave. Tell them that.
Oh, really? Hey, listen.
Yeah.
We'll talk. If you guys can help us, we want to get out of here. So we're trying to get these guys that like they just move easily.
Exactly. That's what we're trying to say is y'all are trying to go out.
Yeah, I think we should try and let you guys go out as well. If these guys can leave,
Keep them tied up here.
Yeah, all we're gonna do is leave. We're gonna move out of here. I don't know. We're trying to riot gear right here. I don't think it makes sense. I don't think that they're
To redeploy. It's a tactical move. Keep them here.
I don't know what they're doing. I'm trying to get these officers on that side. Okay. That's all we're trying to do.
The idea is just to say that they want to retreat, so why don't we let them?
Okay,
They're not wanting to retreat. They're wanting to
then they can
redeploy.
go. But first the riot cops have to leave, and then they can leave as well.
They're going to have to use violence if we hold them in here.
No, the reason they're trying to get out is so these guys can use violence against us.
I want to trust them. I did a non-violent training, and I want to say let's negotiate.
How do we know they're not trying to line up on the other side?
We have officers here, we have officers there. We can come in and enclose. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to get these officers out of there so you guys can continue doing what you're doing. If we wanted to entrap you, we can do that. But that's not what we're trying to do. That's why we're talking to you and saying, hey, can you guys just part the sea and let us...
Those guys aren't going to use
And that's why we're talking to you,
You're
sir.
standing right here, though.
Sir, that's why we're talking to you.
We have to have a little.
Listen to what I'm saying. We're not even at a tear gas stage. You guys are jumping way ahead.
That's only like 5 minutes from now.
Okay, this is what
Do you know how many times I've been lied to you by kids?
Yeah, seriously, we're going to start believing these guys?
I believe them.
Officers, we are moving from one part to the other, okay? So
why? Why? Because they're
I'm not going to discuss what our tactics are with
Yeah,
you.
see, it's a tactical thing. It's a tactical
This is what
thing.
I'm saying.
They're not deciding to be
Just
our
like
friends
you guys
right
aren't gonna
now.
tell us exactly what you're doing, or we don't.
They're not just going to go home.
That's our thing. We're just moving these officers from one side to the other.
Okay,
That's it.
so this is our position. You want to listen to me?
I'm listening.
Okay, this is our position. You've got cops with riot gear on the other side of us.
Okay.
That is a threat to us.
Okay.
We think that you might try to go over there and come at us with riot gear on the other side. So if you really want to get out, tell the cops with riot gear to get in their cars and leave, and then we'll let you out. Does that sound like a deal?
Okay, that's not going to happen.
Yeah!
Okay, well then a lot of things aren't going to happen.
let me tell you this. Well, are you going to listen to me?
Sure.
This is the thing. If we wanted to come in and close everybody, that's something that we can do, but that's not our position right now. That's not our position right now. Okay?
Right now.
That's not our position.
I can count.
But this is the thing. If we're trying to allow you guys to voice your opinions. Sorry.
Oh, letting us. Thank you.
Allow you guys to demonstrate your First Amendment. That's what we're trying to do in a peaceful way. That's why we're talking to you guys.
Right here is not peaceful. Putting that shit on is violence. So tell them to take it off and go away, and then we'll let you out. It's very simple.
You did touch me.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
But I can see
this is I understand.
They're escalating it.
Absolutely, but we're way over there.
Exactly.
We're not in front of you right here.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
I got it.
You have officers in riot gear, but where are they? They're where on the outskirts?
No, they're right there.
They're right there.
They're 15 feet away.
Listen to what I'm saying. But we still have to maintain a presence.
Big lie.
We still have to maintain a presence.
Okay, well tell them to maintain their presence far away or take off their riot gear and sit in their cars.
So,
question is why they want to move to other side? That's my question.
Park the C, let the officers get over there, and it's not a problem. It's not a big deal.
We don't have to escalate, exactly.
Absolutely.
I got you.
Absolutely.
We're reasonable people.
Absolutely.
You guys don't want to let us leave.
Why do you want to go? I think the most important thing is to protect the picket lines and get rid of them.
That's the point.
And that's what we're trying to leave.
They're just trying to redeploy.
But I don't think
There's a tactical reason for this. They're not just being our friends. It's not like they just want to go home.
Don't you think it's better that they're out of this space than in this space?
But in the one side they try to do what? That was the
Yeah, but I
question.
think the importance is the picket line and not to fight right here. That's
Exactly. We don't have to escalate it. We can go ahead and go with the flow. We can trust in each other. Why do we have to assume they're going to do something bad? They're people
But
too.
usually, usually
These are
when
guys with jobs.
Concentrate on closing down the
They're
port.
civil servants, you know?
Okay, look, how about this? And this is not my decision to make, but how about if you just tell the cops and the riot police to move that way so your line can get through so we don't feel like we're getting trapped. That's what we're worried about.
You guys have to move first.
Hold on. This is what we'll do. One step at a time. That's a different department. We'll talk to them. I'm not sure what their goals, what they're doing right now. I'm not sure if they're going to back us up. We'll find out in a minute. We're trying to get OPD out of here.
Hey, Jack, let me call you back.
I'll give you my word. I'll talk to say, well, can you guys, what do you want them to do?
I just want them to move at least to the side. I would like them to go, but if they could at least move to the side while you get out so that we don't feel like we're getting
I
trapped.
can probably get them to back up.
Yeah, that would be great.
Well, I can't promise you anything.
Okay.
These are our friends. You're on the wrong side of history. You're on the wrong side of history. You're off my Christmas list. You're off my Christmas list. I'm not
The police here have kind of backed off here. What do you think about what's going on here today so far?
Yeah, the police did back off. They came out in riot gear. They probably regrouping, but they're really in a tough situation because how are they going to respond to it? If they move people violently, which I think they probably would have to do, the Lone Shore is still not going to go to work. So, I mean, they're in a tough situation. Yeah.
I'm speaking as the co-chair of the Million Worker March, which is supporting the Occupy movement. And this is a historic day today.
Why is this day historic?
It's historic because we haven't seen anything quite like this since the 1930s. That's when we were building unions. What this suggests to me is this is how the labor movement is going to have to rebuild. We represent only 7.2% of the private sector right now. That's the lowest since 1900. Labor has to make a decision. In the past, labor has been the arbiter for social justice and workers' rights between capital and the working class. That's not happening anymore. If Harry Bridges were alive, I think he'd have a very positive take on this, because this is how the ILWU was born. It was born in struggle. It was about a strike for workers to have collective bargaining and the right to have a hiring hall. It was a challenge to capital, and that's what's going on here today. It's a challenge to capital, and it's going on in Oakland, Los Angeles, it's going on in Seattle, in Portland, it's going on in Vancouver, Canada, and we also understand in Houston, Texas, and maybe even New York. So you can't dismiss this. I mean, this is an indication of something.
Well, they were trying to say that they shouldn't shut the port down, they're going to keep the port open, and that this is going to hurt the people if the port is shut down. What's your response to that?
It was a lot of propaganda going on by the media, the Port of Oakland, and even the international leaders of our union and other unions. But however, here we are today, and people are out here. A lot of people, 5 o'clock in the morning. I mean, it's a huge success. Remember, 5 o'clock in the morning on a Monday, not a Saturday, people gave up a day's pay. And I want people to know that it's all kind of working people out here. It's not a thing of homeless people, professional protesters, but working men and women out here giving up a day's pay to move forward.
And I'm here in solidarity with the Occupy movement against inequality in the country and in the world. I think that global justice is imperative at this point in time, and corporations have a lot of power and a lot of wealth, and the politicians are essentially in the pockets of the corporations, and that's really problematic for people like you and me who are struggling to make ends meet, who are struggling to put food on the table, to access health care, to access decent education for our children. So we're standing up, and it's time for a change.
Well, the Port of Oakland had ads in the New York Times and the Chronicle to keep the port open, and the media, ABC, all the corporate channels are saying that this is going to hurt working people and that the port has to be kept open. Why are they so afraid of this?
Because they serve capital. I mean, let's make no mistake about it. There's some longshoremen that are unhappy today, but here's the point. The only time we get any attention and any change in this country is if we do make the ruling class uncomfortable. That's how we got the right to an 8-hour workday, the benefits. People need to understand, we didn't get these benefits because of the kindness of the bosses. We got these benefits because people died. In our own history, in 1934, July 5th, Bloody Thursday, 2 maritime workers were killed. So there's blood, sweat, and tears that have gone into formulating this movement. What's really kind of discouraging is to not find labor being as militant as it once was. My question is this. Well, let me make the point. My point is this. We utilize the contract, but we're not about just the contract. We're about something much more. So when we talk about the sanctity of the contract, I think that goes against the 10 guiding principles of the ILWU. This is about working people standing up. And how could you be discouraged? These are our children that are out here today, our young people. Their future is much bleaker than my generation's was, and they've got every right to be down here. They're peacefully assembling. Labor has been invigorated by this. The question is, are we going to see new leadership emerge? We need new leadership right now.
Well, there's a struggle inside the unions about whether or not the union should be supporting this kind of action because it's illegal, it's hurting people who are working. What's your response to that?
I think that is being fed from the top to us, and I think that the people on bottom need to start really thinking about their relationship with their union and what it should be. And we are the union, and we can make our own decisions, and we don't need the people on top to tell us what we should and shouldn't do, because ever since they started doing their backdoor politics and stuff, the unions have been losing ground in this country. So we need to take it back to where we do what we know we need to do.
And why are the officials so afraid of this movement and the action today? Why are they afraid of it?
Maybe it might break up their ties with the Democratic Party. Yeah, maybe it might just break up their and they just believe in business. You know, it's a right and a wrong way to do things, but no one's going to have a control and say over that with what's going on. You know, Occupy didn't start this, the longshoremen didn't start this. The situation that's going on has brought this forward. You know, with people losing their houses and losing jobs and stuff like that, this is a product of what's going on that brought people out here.
So you think that there are millions of people who are angry and fed up and are ready to start to move?
I think there are millions of people that's mad and probably will be out here, but they can't miss a day's work. You know, or the propaganda, they only watch TV and they think it's just a bunch of professional protesters or people that's trying to overthrow the U.S. government or whatever's going on. But I think a lot of people is here in solidarity, even though they're not here physically.
I just was saying that I think that it's a little embarrassing for the organized labor people that they can't do this, that it takes a group of ragtag people who came together because they're pissed off to do what organized labor should be doing. And I think that it's a little embarrassing that the unorganized labor are helping organized labor by doing the things that they should be doing.
I wanted to support the Occupy movement, and because I have been doing work around like anti-nukes work, and I really want to support the people who are putting energy to this kind of like really communicative resistance, and which never happened in my lifetime, and this is a milestone and I just wanted to be here.
The media have said that the truckers are being hurt by today's action.
I think that truckers deserve rights and decent wages, and in part that's what we're here to say. All of these companies that use the trucking industry to move their goods and services need to be held accountable as well. And I know, for example, that the Teamsters have a big organizing drive underway now for a lot of these truckers who are independent contractors who actually don't have any benefits, any job security, any protection. So we're here for them as much as we are for ourselves, for folks that are losing their homes to foreclosure, folks that are losing their jobs. It's all kind of one struggle connected to our economic system, which is in and of itself flawed, right? Capitalist system is flawed. It's based on exploitation, and you know, it needs to change because we're not, like, the majority of people are not benefiting from it.
Well, it seems like the issues, the truckers, the people who've lost their homes, the people that can't get health care, I mean, all the issues facing the entire population, students who can't afford to go to school, it seems like these issues are all the issues that are coming up at this rally here.
Well, but there's no question about that, and I think that that's very important. For those who say that this struggle with EGT is the ILWU's purview or bailiwick and no one else should be supportive, that just defies logic. How could you say that? Because this situation is not just with the ILWU, it's global. And this Occupy movement is global. We see workers in Europe. Just a couple of weeks ago, we saw the tremendous turnout for a strike with the public sector workers, I believe, in Great Britain. Things are happening all over the world. So this is not a local situation here.
Do you think this is going to strengthen the ILWU's fight in Longview and your upcoming contract and the fight of all workers? There are thousands of workers, tens of thousands of workers without contracts. They're being jerked around by the employers.
I don't see how it couldn't, Steve. The people of Longview have been involved in a heroic struggle, but they can't do it alone. These transnational corporations have tremendous amount, not only wealth, but also power. And so this is about flexing the muscle on the waterfront. We've been doing that grain work for almost 80 years now. And so now that jurisdiction is being challenged. 30% of the funding for our health care and our pension comes from that grain operation. This is a defining moment for the ILWU. You cannot do this negotiating without the community and without the rank and file, in my opinion. So to answer your question, this can only help. I know the people in Longview are very gratified by this. Very gratified. How could they not be? How could they not be? And this also says a lot to labor, because for those who say that the Occupy movement doesn't have any clear demands, that it's that their demands are too broad or whatever, I think that this demonstration today is really quite clear.
People in the Occupy movement say that they want a society where humanity, where people live for the good of people and not for profit. I mean, that's kind of a radical demand, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's a radical demand of what we've been taught of what society is and what's acceptable, but I think it's a very realistic and a demand that we need to move forward with how this system is going now. So yeah, I think that's something that has to happen.
Now, these general assemblies that happen, where workers and people, do you think that should be expanded to the labor movement, to unions? I mean, the kind of democratic structure that's happened in the Occupy movement?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if exactly that's the structure, but certainly things that are done by the union should definitely be done by committee and not just fed to us from the top. I do believe that all decisions should be made by the rank and file, and that the people that are officers, their job should be to carry out those decisions. I mean, we call them business representatives or business managers or business agents, and they should be just that. They should manage the business, they should represent the rank and file, and they should be agents of the rank and file, but they should not be the decision-making group for the whole union. No, decisions should come from the bottom.
So do you think the Occupy movement is going to affect organized labor as far as democracy and power? I mean, the power of the people.
I think it already has. I think that, I mean, what we're doing right now is we're helping out with the Longshore struggle. Some people from Longshore came to us, and they basically, I think what I feel like happened is that they asked us to do what they know their leadership wouldn't do, what they know that they wouldn't be allowed to do, and so we're doing it the way that the unions should be able to do it themselves.
What about the movement for a general strike? There was a strike in England of 2 million public workers. Do you think there's going to be a movement in the United States for all the unions together to go out and collectively take action?
That's a very good question. I was recently in Los Angeles at the U.S. Human Rights Network conference, and I met with people in Los Angeles, and so they're already making the call that they want to see a general strike on May 1st, 2012. I think that's an achievable goal.
You think that would bring the troops home?
Well, I know one thing, it certainly would move labor in the right direction, and that most certainly would put pressure on the powers that be. It will certainly change the conversation in Washington, D.C.
And if this starts to spread all over the country, all over the ports, and the airline workers, there are a lot of workers without contracts, is this a movement towards a general strike?
It could be. It could be. And you know what? I guarantee you some money will be found then. I guarantee you they'll find some money then to please the people. But we have to ask ourselves, what are we doing? That's the question I would ask. Are we just begging and wanting capitalism to make some changes, or are we trying to create a whole new economic system? So I think those would be some of the questions we would have to ask ourselves, because then when will we back off? Will we back off right now if they gave Longview longshoremen the jobs? Will everybody go home in victory? I don't think that would be enough. So it's more than that. If they passed a law to tax rich people 10%, would that be a victory and we go home? That wouldn't be enough. So I mean, we have to ask ourselves, what are we after? Who are we?
Well, now the struggle in Longview, what's going on there? Because they seem to be under tremendous threat. The federal judge, the small town, there are over 200 charges against the workers at Longview.
Yeah, and it's a $250,000 fine on the ILWU itself to not even act of what we're doing now, which brings us back to why why the International is being so, scared to move, because of all the probably pressure from the Democrats and the federal and laws and stuff like that. But I mean, Longview is pretty much, they've been doing that work out there for what, 75 years, a long time, and they just opened up a new facility and didn't hire longshore labor. So that's a big problem with the ILWU.
And they want to break this coastwide contract? Is that what's behind it?
Yeah, and Longview would be a foothold in breaking the coastwide contract. And I just want to say, like, the ILWU itself has to be protected as an institution. I mean, it's one of the last great institutions, not perfect, but great institutions in the fact that you can just come down, give your Social Security and your driver's license, and have no training, and then come down and make a good salary to feed your family, and that changes lives. That changes life. And personally, while I'm in it, coming from the ghettos of Los Angeles and not being educated, I got a lot of issues going on. But the one thing that keeps me strong is I get a paycheck and I can take care of my family. So I can't imagine someone dealing with poverty and everything that go on and then not being able to take care of his family.
And that's for millions of working people.
That's for millions of working people. I mean, how can you hold your head up when you're struggling to feed your kids? This system creates chaos within people and desperate people. So, I mean, it's kind of like they spending trillions of dollars telling us they're keeping us safe from terrorists, but they're creating terrorists at the same time by cutting education programs for old people and stuff. They're creating terrorists. We got to be worried about getting robbed at the ATM machine by somebody who's outside of work instead of some foreign enemy that they telling us that we need to spend money on to protect ourselves.
You think this movement is going to lead to forcing the U.S. government to withdraw from all these bases?
I hope the movement do. I mean, the movement just have to be careful what it falls under. I mean, right now I feel it's acting independent from any type of political party. But I mean, at some point in time, it has to become its own political party.